Hey there, YouTube. Welcome to Monday's edition of The Breakfast Club. I'm Got That Funk. I'd like to thank you for joining me. I'd also like to thank Kazoom Fowler for standing in for Peach for the past few weeks. And it looks like Peach's computer problems won't be resolved anytime soon. I think she has to get a new computer completely now. And that being so, it's going to be a while. So we're going to keep Kazoom on Sundays until Peach has got her computer stuff sorted out. But she will be back, Breakfast Club. Don't worry about that. Anyway, right, so Kazoom was the first guest host on the Breakfast Club ever to kick off a round robin discussion. And I'm really glad you got to stick around long enough to do that, Kazoom. And so your question was to do with our thoughts about online bullying, harassment, shaming, and intimidation. And I did already make a video for the original Breakfast Club channel, which talks about my viewpoints to some pretty large degree, which I will tack on to this video in just a moment. So that's why this video is running a bit long, but I think the points I made in that, I'd really rather not reiterate the important ones or whatever. I'm just going to leave that video as it is intact because I think it's alright. But I wanted to answer some of the questions that you asked at the end of your video, Kazoom, specifically here. First of all, you said, do you think insults and so forth are of a benefit or have some sort of beneficial use? You then asked, have there ever been any scenarios turn out better because of these tactics? Well, I don't know. I personally think that the culture has changed an awful lot on YouTube in the 8 years that I've been watching and making videos on this platform. And certainly 8 years ago, there used to be a character on YouTube. I'm pretty sure he still makes videos. His name was venomfangx. Now, venomfangx incurred the wrath of dozens of YouTube atheist video makers back in the day. Dozens and dozens and dozens. VFX used to complain that he had more than 20,000 video responses, which by any measure you could determine is harassment, certainly by modern standards. And even if venomfangx was exaggerating by tenfold, 2,000 video responses in a short period of time is an awful lot of attention and vitriol coming your way, etc. And let's be clear, certainly by modern standards of what qualifies for online bullying, venomfangx was bullied back in those days, which is in no way to suggest that I excuse his own behavior, which was deplorable in the extreme. venomfangx was a nasty motherfucker, okay? No doubt about it. And when he was so smug and arrogant on his videos, and he was basically the perfect food, you can make an argument. You see, I don't necessarily think rolling around insulting people is necessarily very productive, just in general, whether that's in person or online. I just don't think insults really get you very far. However, sometimes when you can see, for example, that there's no getting through to someone, but you still want to have your say, I think instead of insulting them, mockery is probably a better way to go. It makes the same points, but is, in my opinion, anyways, it's a little bit less egregious than coming out and insulting people. So, and whether these tactics ever make anything turn out for the better is a matter of perspective. I don't think you can necessarily change the person's mind who you're having the disagreement, argument, whatever with. But you can definitely have an effect on people who are witness to those interchanges. And I'm sure that's the case with the whole venomfangx thing. No one was ever going to change Sean's mind about his fundamentalist beliefs. But I think an awful lot of people who were witness to those video exchanges did sort of see things slightly differently. And I'm sure it's improved certain people's lives. And I don't think that would have had the same impact if people were playing with kid gloves and trying to be all nice about everything. So there's that. You then ask Kazoom, have you ever found yourself using these tactics? Not really. I used to make video responses to a guy called The Woods of Jordan. I think I made Jordan a total of 8 or 9 videos, maybe 10 even, over the course of about a year and a half. And, I was basically trying to point out why his homophobia was wrong. And my son said to me once, he said, "Dad, stop bullying Jordan." I really didn't think of myself as bullying Jordan. My demeanor, as you guys know, is relatively calm and straightforward online. However, I guess I must have mocked Jordan a bit. because, you know, he was saying stupid shit, and I don't really think that I have to pretend to have respect or ingratiate myself with ideas that are just dumb to me. But yeah, you guys know me well enough right by now. I do try to make an effort not to be insultive, not to be confrontational, and I think that would be a good approach for everybody. So Kazum asks, you know, if we found ourselves using those tactics, have we ever apologized for it? Yes, I apologized to Jordan once in a video. Did we just stick with it? No, not really. I've kind of moved on. I don't do ponage anymore at all. I don't get involved in YouTube dramas anymore at all. Even ones where I could see myself having a pretty strong opinion about, I'm just like, oh, fuck it. I don't want to be dragged into all that. So anyways, and you ask, have you ever found yourself using these tactics and saw things go horribly wrong? No, I didn't use those kind of tactics very often. And yeah, for me, I want to enjoy my YouTube experience, and insults and nasty confrontations aren't particularly enjoyable to me. Right, what follows for the next few minutes is my video response to this topic last year on The Breakfast Club. And I hope you stick around and watch that, because it makes some pretty good points if I don't say so myself.
Because I think it is an important topic, and I think it doesn't get discussed anywhere near enough. And I think it's a real problem. It's a real problem for the victims, yes, but online bullying is a real problem for all of us, even if you don't perpetrate or suffer from online bullying. Because I'm not so sure what the political discourse is like in America regarding this subject. But here in the UK, the authorities are considering different methods through which they can deal with online bullying, making certain things a crime. Now, I have a problem with that in general, because I am sick and tired. I'm fed up with the authorities coming up with new and different ways to curtail free speech, coming up with new and different ways to fine or imprison the population. Having said that, online bullying is a serious problem for the victims, definitely, absolutely. And we can't be in denial about it. Online bullying does exist. I mean, does anybody in this room seriously think that Anita Sarkeesian doesn't get death threats and hate mail? You know, of course she feels like she's the victim of online bullying, because she is. Now, most of us aren't in her position, but plenty of us have suffered from online bullying. I've been pretty fortunate in that regard, and I haven't really been the victim of bullying to any significant degree. I've had my fair share of trolls, especially back in the old days when my channel used to be popular. But suffice to say that I deal with trolls in my own way. And that's one thing I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk a little bit about the difficulties with interacting online in the first place. You know, with the absence in the comment section, most people's fate are faceless. And so in the absence of any idea what someone's facial gestures are communicating, what the intonation behind the words they're writing is lost because they're not speaking them, they're typing them, and so forth. And these are real problems with communicating online. Sarcasm can be incredibly difficult to get across in a comment, and so forth. Any sense of humor, for that matter, can be hard to get across. And so it's difficult to distinguish when you're receiving a comment. Sometimes if someone's just having a laugh, sometimes it's completely goes right past you. You know, you don't know, and because you are so accustomed to getting hostile comments, you take jokes as hostility. And let's talk about hostility for a second. At what point does hostility become bullying? That, all by itself, that's a question which I don't think has a correct answer, but it's a legitimate question, and it's one they would have to answer if they were going to try to legislate online bullying. Equally, you know, at what point does repeated contact with someone become pestering? And at what point does pestering become harassment? Is all harassment bullying? Where are the lines for any of this stuff? I think if we let the authorities legislate online behavior, in any way curtail your free speech online, everything's at risk. Mockery, satire, having a disagreement with someone can easily turn into a flame war, and therefore, you know, people are at risk of committing offenses, basically, just for having a disagreement if they use the wrong language. So maybe it would be a good idea to try to avoid hyperbole as much as possible. This can be very difficult because sometimes people say such stupid shit that in order to make your point, you have to be over the top a little bit. And this is another thing I wanted to talk about. If you're going to be online, and it's easy to say, oh, well, you shouldn't be easily offended. But the fact is, everyone's got different sensibilities. We've got different age groups, different cultures. The whole mix is online. The whole world's online, which is another reason as well why it's going to be hard to legislate this kind of thing in the first place. But I digress. Now, normally, rather than legislation, I would be an advocate for social pressure. But let me ask you this, my worthy audience. Isn't social pressure a acceptable form of bullying? At what point would social pressure be seen to be bullying? Why isn't bullying seen as social pressure? Just a thought. I want to leave you with this final thought. Almost never does someone win an argument, but you can change minds through discussion. We shouldn't put so much emphasis on winning an argument. Say your piece, make sure you've said it well, let the other party say their piece. Changing the mind doesn't have to happen on the spot. So, here's my recommendations. Never draw first blood. Try not to get hung up on having the last word. And if you're having a disagreement with someone, especially about something you feel passionately, if you are going to use hyperbole to make your point, start your comment, your disagreement, by saying something along the lines of, I respectfully disagree. So even if you are being a little bit on the harsh side, you've let them know that you're not necessarily trying to ignite a flame war.
Sister Danger is going to be up next on The Breakfast Club for Tuesday's edition. I'm very much looking forward to seeing her take on this subject. And I look forward to hearing your comments in the comment section down below. Let's have a lively debate, shall we? Until next week, thanks for watching, and may all your ups and downs be ups.